Content warning. This podcast discusses topics related to cults, including manipulation, psychological abuse, coercion, exploitation, and other forms of harmful behavior. Some episodes may contain descriptions of traumatic experiences, violence, sexual abuse, and mental health issues. Listener discretion is advised. If you're sensitive to these topics or have a history of trauma, please take care while listening. If you or someone you know is currently in a cult or experiencing abuse, please seek support from someone you trust, a mental health professional, or the authorities. Welcome to How Did We Get Here, the podcast where we dive deep and dissect the world of infamous and current cults and unearth the hidden psyche of their leaders. I am Emily, your guide in this journey and a psych nurse by profession. That being said, I am not formally diagnosing anybody with anything on this show. I am only coming from my experience and research when I talk about mental disorders or other psychological phenomena. Every week, we will examine the often overlooked allure of the macabre that has lured countless individuals into their fold. Together, we will delve into infamous cults like the Manson family, the People's Temple, and other lesser-known ones that might just be springing up in your neighborhood. Charles Chalais in Canada and Switzerland claimed 74 lives on the orders of a doctor and a professional fraudster. How did we get here? The Order of the Solar Temple is a mysterious organization active from the mid-80s to the late 90s. Its leaders, Joseph DeMambro and Luc Jouret, promised enlightenment and connection to godhood. The best way to describe this cult would be one of those boss lady MLM schemes, but for the disgustingly wealthy. It had headquarters in Switzerland and Quebec. Some members from France, the United States, and Australia were also active in this group. Wealthy watchmakers, famous skiers, and other notable figures made up its membership. It literally went up in flames, and those flames finally burned out in 1997. Joseph DeMambro was born in France in 1924. I looked at his picture, which I posted on social media earlier this week. He's just creepy. He's got this red hair, serial killer glasses, and a weird mustache. He reminds me of the guy who killed Susie Salmon in The Lovely Bones. When I read later about how he fathered numerous children, I was shocked to say the least. Not much is known about Joe DeMambro other than he was bullied for being part Italian and that he lost his sister when he was a child. DeMambro never knew his father, but was oddly close with his mother. Reportedly, they would knit together late into the night. He also worked as a jeweler and a watchmaker starting at the age of 16. He was a fraudster from the beginning, serving jail sentences for writing bad checks and impersonating a psychiatrist. Joseph DeMambro's first dip into the occult was his attendance at a meeting of the ancient magical order Rosicrucis, also known as Rosicrucianism or Amorc. According to the official Amorc website, this mystical order began in ancient Egypt. Scholars who showed a desire for knowledge by passing specific tests were initiated into the mysteries of hidden knowledge. Rosicrucians believed that the pyramids of Egypt were erected so that studies of the mystical secrets and initiation ceremonies could occur. This differs from the historically accepted purpose of the pyramids as places to bury pharaohs. King Thutmose III created traditions and rituals that Rosicrucians use today. King Amenhotep IV was also initiated into the mysteries of the order, and its secrets inspired him to try to change the theology of ancient Egypt. He believed that there is only one god, the sun god Aton. Greek and Roman philosophers brought knowledge from the secret order to the Western world. Amorc is still around today and offers the path to true wisdom. People of all backgrounds are encouraged to join. Monthly dues start at $15. Mambro also became fascinated with the Knights Templar, also known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. The Knights Templar was a Catholic military order with origins in France. When Jerusalem came under control of the Franks in 1099, Christians made pilgrimages to the Holy Land. These pilgrims were often robbed or slaughtered on their journey and needed protection. A holy militant order was founded, though most of the order did not see combat. They held on to the assets of pilgrims and established early modern banking. The knights that did see combat were usually on the front lines as shock troops. They had heavy armor, wore white robes with red crosses on them. Their headquarters were near the ruins of what people believed to be Solomon's temple from the Bible, and what used to be a mosque. The order ran for 2 centuries until mounting pressures and debts forced the King of France to disband the Knights Templar, and its members were imprisoned and slaughtered. Demambro believed that he had extraordinary spiritual abilities thanks to the influence of these two mysterious orders. He began an organization called the Center for the Preparation of the New Age. This later became the Golden Way, and finally the ruler of the Solar Temple. Demambro was the creative force of the cult, but Dr. Luc Jouret got people to join. He is a more handsome man than Joseph Demambro, and he kind of reminds me of the fifth Beatle. Luc Jouret was born in the Belgian Congo. He suffered from arthritis in his hip at age 14, which piqued his interest in medicine. He attended the Free University of the Congo and became a doctor. During his time in school, he joined a communist group, the Walloon Communist Youth. After college, he joined the military, hoping to spread his communist beliefs. He was a paratrooper. Luc Jouret eventually became disillusioned with medicine and sought out alternative treatments such as acupuncture and homeopathy. He traveled to China, India, Peru, and the Philippines. He also became a well-respected speaker, lecturing on motivation and healthy living. Jouret did a lecture for the Golden Way, which put him on Demambro's radar. He was also affiliated with the renewed Order of the Temple, as was Demambro. When Jouret unsuccessfully tried to take over the organization following its leader, Auriga's death, Demambro encouraged many followers to split off from the group. In 1984, the two men joined forces and began the Order of the Solar Temple. The Order's belief system was as follows: re-establish the knowledge of authority and power, affirm the primacy of the spiritual over the temporal, make man aware of his dignity, help humanity through its passage, participate in the assumption of the earth, help unify the churches, and return Christ in solar glory. Jouret predicted that the world's end was at hand. Humanity had polluted the earth so much that it was no longer redeemable. Demambro and Jouret told followers that they could leave their earthly bodies through fire, and upon their deaths they could go on a voyage to the star Sirius. This was their means of escaping the impending apocalypse. As the Order of the Solar Temple was a secret mystical society, information on its rituals and ceremonies was limited. There are clips out there of their initiation rituals. The one I found begins with people wearing white cloaks with a red Templar cross. Their faces are censored out in the video. These people walk with their hands over their hearts in groups of two in a line up to a candle, kind of like a graduation ceremony. They bow to the candle and then walk to their seats. At the front of the ceremonial chapel is a row of people in red cloaks, and their hoods are up. I could not tell if the officiator was Demambro or Jouret, standing in front of the room, behind an altar with a cloak hanging over it. Two of the white-cloaked people bring an initiation candidate to the front of the room. The officiator lays a sword over the candidate's head as the candidate lays his hand on a secret book that lies on the altar. Next to the book is a rose. The initiate receives his cloak, and then everyone exits the room. There could be more, but again, the Order of the Solar Temple is supposed to be a mystical secret society, so what we can find online may not be the whole picture. This video was also made in the late 80s or early 90s, so cameras were not the best. Former cult members said that rituals involved a lot of hallucinogenic drugs and sexual themes. Mystical figures, ascended masters, the Holy Grail, and Excalibur would materialize from nothing during these rituals. Ritual rooms were guarded so that the secrets of the order were protected. One ritual recognized Demambro a Fairchild as the return of Christ. He introduced the theme of theogony, and the ritual shined a light on his pregnant mistress's body, signifying an ascended master impregnating her. The child that was born was named Emmanuel. Despite being female, Emmanuel was referred to as a male in the temple. People joined the Solar Temple by invitation. Jouret could bring people in by vetting people who attended his lectures. Once hefty dues were paid, people were initiated into the lowest section of the group. They would learn secrets that would make them more curious, and once they spent more money, they would know more secrets. As members advanced in the temple, they would get different colored cloaks to signify their status. Demambro also let them know who they were in a past life. The Solar Temple sought out wealthy people. The owner of the Piaget watch company, Camille Piaget, was one of its top members. He paid all of the money for all of the Solar Temple levels and received all of the cloaks and secrets in his initiation ceremony. Upon joining, members were told that they no longer needed their possessions and assets. Members gave all that they had to the organization and lived communally, though the chalets were better than other cults' communal living spaces. Every aspect of daily life was controlled by DeMambro, down to the very food the members ate. For example, members were instructed to wash their groceries 7 times before bringing them home. DeMambro also controlled who married and had children. DeMambro told followers that all the love they felt for things and people of this world had run its course, and it was time to change. DeMambro brought people in by telling them they were reincarnations of historical figures, so he paired them up accordingly. People got divorced and remarried according to his cosmic designs. These people could only have children with his consent. When one woman named Nikki Dutoit had a miscarriage, DeMambro forbade her and her husband Tony from ever trying to have children again. Things were good for a few years until they weren't. Tony Dutoit revealed to members that he was behind the mystical apparitions in the cult rituals. This angered members, and they tried to get their money back. This was compounded by the men's anger at being forced to divorce their wives. Jure and DeMambro took the liberty of having sex with the newly single women. Jure would invite women into his bed by claiming that sex would awaken the mystical energy needed to conduct rituals. Tony Dutoit and his wife Nikki left the group. Believing that they were no longer forced to follow the orders of Jure and DeMambro, they had a son who they named Christopher Emmanuel. This angered DeMambro. He declared the child to be the Antichrist and demanded that the infant be eliminated from the earth. In October 1994, the Dutoit family was invited to a dinner at a house owned by Solar Temple members in Quebec. Joseph DeMambro's lover, Dominique Belleton, and another man were waiting in the house. The family, including the baby, were stabbed to death. Other members cleaned up the crime scene. Hours after this, the house and other chalets in Switzerland were on fire. Devices involving bare wires and gasoline consumed the homes in flames. Firefighters discovered a room in a Swiss chalet involving numerous dead bodies laid out in a star formation. The room had a red carpet and mirrors on the walls. The bodies were in robes, and some had garbage bags over their heads. The medical examiner determined that the people died of a drug overdose. Still, numerous bullet holes were found in the heads of the dead. Some were said to have smiles on their faces. A similar event happened a year later in France, where 22 people lay dead in a burned house, their bodies in a star formation. They also had drugs on their blood, bullet holes in their skulls, and bags over their heads. In 1997, the last members died, bringing the total death count of the Solar Temple to 25. A group of teenagers told police that their parents were trying to commit suicide and wanted to take the teenagers with them, but they managed to escape. 5 adults lay dead in the house. DeMambro, Luc Jure, and Emmanuel were in the first group of mass deaths. DeMambro, despite claiming that he would be reclaimed by fire upon his death, did not burn at all in the fires. Dental records confirmed Jure's corpse. However, the medical examiner had to confirm Jure's death twice to quell conspiracy theories that Jure had escaped. Letters were mailed to various news outlets around the time of the deaths. During the investigation, police found a tape of a conversation between Jure and DeMambro comparing themselves to Waco. They regretted that the Brecht Davidians had stole their thunder by also going out in a blaze of fire, but they vowed to be better than the fires at Waco. We know the chronological events, so let's discuss how we got here. As I said earlier in the episode, DeMambro was committing fraud and participating in mystical orders from his youth. This man was born to be a cult leader. Jure was trying to change the system when he joined the military. His only reason for joining was so he could make the institution communist. These men exploited people for money and sex with empty promises of enlightenment. They had no problem doing whatever it took to get what they wanted. DeMambro was obsessed with appearances and having nice things. He lived like a king off of his followers' salaries. It was said that one of his followers gave almost all of his salary to DeMambro and Jure, saving only $200 for his family. The exploitation, along with Demembro's delusional beliefs that he was an ascended master born of fire, give me vibes of narcissistic personality disorder. For listeners who have not heard my previous episodes, narcissistic personality disorder is characterized by a lack of empathy, delusional beliefs that the person is more special than others, a need for affirmation, and arrogance. Very few people with this disorder get treatment for it, and very few of those people succeed in treating the disorder. Typically, other people around the narcissist end up in treatment. A watchmaker and a doctor promise their follower salvation and eternal glory in exchange for their earthly possessions. When things did not go their way and people did not do what these two men wanted, they burned everything down. Despite the theatrical end to this cult, survivors and investigators are left with more answers than questions. People are always seeking out a higher meaning in life. We constantly wonder if there truly is a God or if this life is all we have. Sometimes we feel as though religion has failed us, so we seek that meaning in alternative ways. We join mystical orders, follow aliens and cryptids, or go on journeys to find ourselves. Unfortunately, nefarious people in this world are just waiting to profit from it. When the Solar Temple was created, New Age groups were everywhere. The 70s and 80s saw other cults such as the People's Temple, Heaven's Gate, Ryalism, and many more groups that I will cover in upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Tune in next week for a fiery episode about the tragedy at Waco. If you like this series, follow it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts and share with a friend. Follow me on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Patreon at EmmyCast1018. Till next time, stay aware, stay informed, and stay safe. Thank you.